many survival traits that allowed us to avoid unnecessary danger, to reflect and think before we acted, to create and deeply sense the mood of our environments. It has since been called high sensitivity. Today, our story is about the sensitive man rising. It's been 25 years since the first research was published on sensitivity, and it's only been 2 years since the sensitive man has come into focus.
My name is Will Harper, and I'm the director from Sensitive, The Untold Story. I'm very proud to say that I'm a highly sensitive person. I consider this a gift.
When Will Harper and I came together and decided to create this film, this documentary film on highly sensitive men, we both knew innately that the focus of the film would be the stories that sensitive men had to tell us about their lives.
Oh, it was pretty hard growing up. A lot of mental abuse. It's pretty hard.
There is so much brokenness in our past, and the brokenness that we shared, obviously, we're tying to some degree to our highly sensitive trait.
Discovering my sensitivity and appreciating the sensitivity that is a gift and not a curse, I think was crucial and has completely turned around for what was a very difficult period. I find that the sensitivity gives me new avenues of exploration. It's served me well.
Sensitive men have tremendous amounts to gain by learning to embrace their sensitivity. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's a couple of things. Our society in general tends to be populated by the moderately sensitive, the whole vast middle 40% that are envisioned to be kind of moderately sensitive. We also have almost 30% at the low end that tend to be less sensitive or non-sensitive at all. Men learning to be higher sensitive or learning to embrace that sensitivity, there's a certain giftedness to it that goes beyond simply a selfish self-realization. It really extends out to a broader conceptualization of how we fit into the species, how we can bring to our fellow man and women the giftedness of being a highly sensitive person. We're more creative. We think and feel deeper. We notice things before other people. We tend to be good at leading. We tend to be good at knowing the answers before other people. We tend to be good at innovation. We also tend to be good at knowing how people are feeling, how people are doing emotionally, and what needs to be done to fix some of those problems.
So why is our film so important, and why is there an urgency for us to disseminate the wisdom and the consciousness of this innate trait?
Because we men are sometimes slower to embrace genres that have stigmas on the words used to describe a characteristic or mannerism, like sensitivity.
My suggestion is to get over it. Get over yourself, especially my POCs, people of color. It's cool to be sensitive.
I mean, think about who are the highly sensitive ones in our community. Obama, Lenny Kravitz, The Rock, and yes, Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela.
It's time to wake up, my friends. This trait is a gift, and you are special. We need to bring all men to the forefront.
To the front line of understanding this powerful trait. Why? Simple. Because all highly sensitive people are needed, men and women alike, so that we may give insight, vision, and unrealized revelations to the sensitive and non-sensitive in our global community. Please understand this. It is proven that we are sensitive to subtleties, empathetic, and most importantly, we are deep thinkers. This is not a trend or a movement. These are carefully reviewed scientific studies that hold up to scrutiny.
Learning to embrace that sensitivity and to embody it in a really confident way that invites other people into that experience, I think is really the key thing. The world can benefit from discovering highly sensitive men and what we have to offer, because it desperately needs us. It desperately needs us as healers and as leaders and as creatives to bring about needed change in our society and in our cultures. as we leave off some of the things from the past and embrace a new vision of the future that is more inclusive, that's more diverse, that's more empowering for people to, rather than fit a narrow mold of what they should be or what they can become, but rather autonomously deciding who and what they want to be, and then what they want to contribute to the world in a way that is intrinsically motivating, rather than being extrinsically controlled by culture and society telling them what they have to do. Discovering that people have inborn within them this tremendous gift is something that we need to encourage, and our world can greatly benefit from that if we learn to support that journey of self-discovery and self-exploration and self-acceptance.
The sensitive man rising. Watch and find out why.
It has to notify everybody, doesn't it?
Yes, I think that's a good thing. That's very good.
Yeah, it is, right?
So,
Yeah.
well, this is great. Well, thank you for thinking of us.
Well, I am so glad that you guys are here today, and thank you so much for joining us. We're the nonprofit Waltz, and I've known Tracy for a long time, and I've got to spend time with you now, Will, and I'm so excited about the movie, Sensitive Men Rising, and also just all the work that's going to come from that. Something
Excellent.
that we do, which is, I think, which when my son died, we wanted to create a nonprofit, or create a movement of change, but we were like, well, how do we do that? There's so many other nonprofits out there, and they're good, right? But we were thinking that was one of the things we did, is like integrate the visual and performing arts, because one of our things we say is, let's stop dancing around mental health conversations. So, we're trying to get people talking more. And something that I think that your film is going to do as well is get people talking more about the highly sensitive person. My son Walt was a highly sensitive person. He was also high sensation seeking, and I am as well, both of those. And I feel as if we understood this better, he would have had less, he would have seen himself in a different light, and not kind of felt as if he, say he had anxiety, I have anxiety, it runs in my family, that I'm not talking about the trait itself, I'm talking about anxiety, and two, he would need more downtime. So with thinking that there was something the matter, that he needed the downtime, and I think that kind of hurt him as well, as far as some of his struggles went. But he was so smart, and we had a very really great relationship and things. But this is why we wanted to start something, was because there's so many beautiful people out there that are struggling, and like if we can get information out to them, as far as even mental health conditions, but also just even things like being a highly sensitive person, or being in a relationship with a highly sensitive person, and how you can help them. And so I thought we could kind of just talk about a few of the things, that as far as, I guess I can ask you a few questions.
That's good.
I guess that's
But
what
I
do, right?
I can, based on what you said, and the way I know Tracy probably, I hope he'll agree with this, but I think so, because I'm going to put him on the spot, is that we're going to do a special dedication in our film at the end of it, or at the beginning of it, or something like that. And one of the people that we dedicate this film to is going to be your son. We're going to put him in, okay?
Oh, really? Thank you.
Oh, really? Because he sounds like he's a great person, and you're a great mother, and what you've done and what you say, people like him is who we want to be a part of this this whole, maybe the wrong word, but movement or awareness. we want him to be recognized. So and you'll be in the film. You already know that. So uh, that's something. Tracy, are you okay with that?
I'm absolutely okay with it. Yeah, we need to shine a light on it, right, and bring
Yeah.
mental health
Thank you
to
so
the
much.
forefront and make it stigma
That's
free.
wonderful. I didn't expect that. Yeah, that's wonderful. He was just a beautiful human being. He was like, I even have a picture with me just to show you, like, I mean, he was like just
Mm-hmm.
so handsome and kind
Mm-hmm.
and brilliant, but and so humble and gentle at the same time, you know. And
That's what we're looking for.
I mean, you know, I always said to him, I would bow to him and say, "You are my teacher," right? You know, that was I said that to my son all the
Right.
time, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, we
And
got to
so,
listen
yeah.
to the part of who we have to listen to in life are the children. I mean, they're unfiltered. At 3 years
Absolutely.
old, 5 years old, they'll tell the truth, even though you don't want to hear it. They'll tell you
No,
the truth.
they really will. You know.
One of the things that stood out to me, Susan, was the idea of finding hope and togetherness. And one of the reasons that really stuck me when I looked at the themes for this little interview is that it really is about finding hope in each other. It's about surviving the way we've always survived, which is coming together as a people, not only as a family, but with friends and with extended family and as communities. And that's the way we get through something like this pandemic is together, even though it seems like we're all separated and people have grown apart in some ways and are now clashing in really ugly ways. I think we
Mm-hmm.
people are also able to see that the way forward is to make those connections again, remind us of our fundamental humanness. And that's such a big part of what we're doing with Sensitive and Rising is trying to remind people that sensitive is just a label. We don't particularly want it either. We're just humans. We're just men. We happen to be a little more sensitive than other men, but there's a fundamental humanness in that, and that's a connecting thought. And I think there's tremendous hope within that. And I think our film really has that potential to bring people together in a way and provide that sense of hope. A lot of men don't know they're highly sensitive, so we want to open that door for them and then to keep it open.
Yeah, I agree with with Tracy on that. And you know, hope is the good news, and then we need strategy to really bring it to the forefront, right? And bring that
Absolutely.
hope and shared thinking. Shared thinking is critical, and that our movie hopefully is going to really fuel that and give people a trajectory of let's share the thinking and the because we're going to connect people from around the world is even if we got your Libya guy in, we got people from all over the world wanting to be in this men. So we're about to, I think, blow away the term sensitive, and it's going to become, you know, whatever that, not a new word, but accepting that it's okay.
Right.
It's beyond the
viewed,
word.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's viewed in a whole different lens again. You know, suddenly we see it in a different way, and we're like appreciative of it, right? Because we know when we're around sensitive men how good we feel, right? It's just this sense of like my son. When you would be around my son, everybody would just say, "Oh, just like." I feel so, you know, it feels so calming, and I love being around him. Or his voice is just so assuring, and then even just what they have to say, what sensitive people have to say because of the, you know, the really processing of their day and their life, right? I mean, it's such a deeper level. So I mean, I feel like, you know, I'm saddened that I know about these things more now, but you know, it's become, you know, as we say, is sometimes it's like, um, for me, it's a breath forward, right? Because I can move forward knowing that by identifying this trait and also talking to people and having people open up about mental health conditions, I believe that we're going to have happier people and less suffering and really less deaths, because of the confusion and also not addressing some of our problems because we aren't talking, right?
One of the big things about bringing men together and having them speak or finding out what their stories are is that it is connecting. When you learn that you're not alone in the world, then you start to feel more connected back to the human species again. And sometimes we sensitive men don't feel connected. So this opens the door for them. This film opens the door and allows them to know that not only are they not alone, but there are hundreds of billions of other men just like them that are perhaps fighting a similar sort of battle. And we're here to help them show that there are men that are very successful with this, and there are men that are still on their journey and men that haven't even started their journey yet. So we want to provide that pathway that makes sense to them.
All disciplines and good decision makers, and we've got to make it so that everybody feels emotionally solid. And that, that's something you and Tracy will talk about in this film, because, making sure that we don't feel so far away and left out and invisible, that we have we're solid. And I know Tracy was wishing he could have got with your son more. He talked about that in our first conversation. And, you can talk to that, because that's a thing that we need to make sure that doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
And like you
the
guys
isolation is really bad. And I think that the non-acceptance and the shame that you feel as some, in particular, a man, knowing my son, thinking that, and I would be like, but look at everything you can do, oh my gosh.
Right. Yes. Yes. Right.
I said that he could just speak to any topic, and my son, I'm sitting at our dinner table right now, and my son Will would always say, oh, wait for it, because someone would have a question. We would have companies per se, and they ask a question, and Will would always say that, wait for it. Then Walt would come out with this answer that was just unbelievable, But yeah, we were sitting, I was right there with Tracy, and so you can imagine how I feel, having the moment right there, and almost catching more of this information, at least, for as far as that goes. But yeah, I didn't know if you guys had anything to that you could think about as far as what we can do as far as helping you guys, as far as getting more information out there about the highly sensitive person, because that's one of the things we do. We say we're a compass and a megaphone, for mental health support, education, and change. So we want to also, get the information out that there is a trait of highly sensitive. And, we're clear that we're not talking about anxiety and things here. We're talking about a highly sensitive person, but we know that can come with things. And, we're thinking about some different ways of trying to get that out there to people as well, because this is just going to help the whole human being, right?
Right.
Well, the important thing, Susan, with describing sensitivity is to describe it as a natural, normally occurring trait that in and of itself is a neutral thing. It doesn't imply one thing or another, but because of the four aspects, right, the deep thinking, the lower threshold for overarousal, the high empathy, emotional range, and the sensitivity to subtleties, those factors together can make you more easily over-aroused and stimulate anxiety, stimulate depressions, can stimulate a lot of intense sort of rumination. That can be an unhealthy thing. So we tend to do a lot better in positive environments and a lot worse in negative environments. So we have to monitor our environments very carefully to make sure that they stay positive environments and take steps when they become negative environments. So if people don't understand it as a pathology, but rather as a naturally occurring neutral personality trait.
Yeah, that's very important to point that out for sure, because we don't want to confuse them, but sometimes people do end up having anxiety and depression from also a co-occurring even a biomarker, or, you know, when we start going into things like that, you know.
And sometimes they come to discovering high sensitivity through researching and learning more about anxiety, or learning more about depression or social anxiety. They come to sensitivity as a matter of finding the literature, and one thing leads to another. And somewhere along the way, they run into Will's movie, Sensitive Untold Story, and then that can break the door open for them again in understanding the trait as something that explains perhaps some of it.
Yeah, that's a
So there are different pathways to learning that you're highly sensitive.
And one thing great to make the people aware of is that it's not an illness. We're not sick. It's problematic in the way that we kind of help the children get a grasp on being with the trait. Dialing it in. Basically, it's stuff just like anything else. We're like finely tuned machines. You know, we're not. I like the saying that we're not an answering machine. We're a question machine. You know, we're questioning things. And kids, what do? They're always asking, Daddy, what's this? How does that work? What about this? And that's where the things really start percolating. And you know, another thing that I think is really interesting is in that first film, there was a young lady with purple hair. She stood by a horse, and she's the one that really pumped the superpower. And she did it with enthusiasm, and it knocked people out. There was people saying, you know, she's over the top, she's too much. But now everybody's talking about high sensitivity is a superpower. It has something to it. You know why they're doing that? Because of Stan Lee and all the comic books. Now look at all the big films. Look at how they're doing with this superpower thing. But this is the real one. This isn't, you know, a made up thing. It's a real trait, and it's strong. And guys, we're tuned in to listening to those people saying that stuff. We're that machismo bit that goes in with it a little bit, but we can take the word again, take in another word or another phrase and turn it even more positive, because it's a super great thing to be aware of, and it is nice to have. And if we can disseminate that and push it out to people and make them feel strong and not isolated or invisible, but and they can come together better, I think it's okay to say it's a superpower. I think it doesn't hurt.
I think it is a superpower, because the men I've known that are highly sensitive, it is a superpower.
Right.
Just their thinking process, being able to think through things in a different way. And my son was, you know, as Tracy often says too, sometimes, you know, or often, you know, you can have a gifted, you know, the highly sensitive gifted, you know, person who is also very intelligent. And these I always say they are the leaders, you know, to be coming. And so we want to make people aware of their own superpower, right? So they don't really stigmatize themselves and start thinking like you're talking about, like making it as if it's an illness, when we're saying, no, this is a good thing. Let's look at it. And then let's also, oh, I need a little more downtime. Well, so what, right? You know,
that's right.
This is well worth maybe needing a little more downtime, or, you know, a little break from, you know, the chaos or whatever it happens to be. But I feel like I wish everyone knew about this, even for their employees, in a sense where sometimes those people, sometimes highly sensitive people, could become invisible in a sense, and not heard so much as they're being stampeded by some of those others without empathy, or, you know, in those areas as well. And we also know in business, you know, they're talking a lot about empathetic leadership and things like that. So, you know, this is so important for people to understand as well, even in that, you know, in that community itself, because it, you know, you can see so many reasons. And the biggest is, of course, moving humanity forward, right? You know, making, you know, reducing suffering, helping humankind and making discoveries, making connections. I'm so thrilled that you're doing it around the world as well. I mean,
And you know what? I think that superpower, just so it's real clear, is really, to me, the undertone of it is confidence. It doesn't mean superpower, jump off the building and fly and go punch people and all that stuff. It's confidence. It's a super internal thing that gives you a boost of adrenaline that says, I can. Yes, I can. I am, and I can, and I will.
He might seem a little, he seemed a little confident, And Walt would say, man, I wish I had a little bit of that,
I wish I had a little bit of that.
Susan, that's what I love about the arts, is that highly sensitive people are very often involved in the arts in many different capacities. We're naturally inclined to be creatives, I mean, the deep thinking, the sensitivity, the subtleties, the high empathy, all those things predispose us to being creative individuals. How we choose to express that is up to us, and we may be artists in a traditional sense of being performers or being visual artists or being in some other capacity, but the performing arts are one of the ways that you can see sensitive people in action. When you go to a gallery show and you see paintings hanging on a wall or sculptures, you get to see into their minds, and you get to see the exquisite details sometimes that are in paintings, or the incredible expressiveness or creativity that has taken place. Van Gogh, for instance, when I stand in front of a Van Gogh painting, an actual Van Gogh painting, it's absolutely incredible because you get to see his mind at work in that painting, each one of the brush strokes, the impasto paint, right? The choice of colors, the fluidity with the way that it was drawn, all those things denote someone that really was confident in what they were doing, right? Van Gogh was extremely confident in what he was doing. Over time, he developed his own shorthand in painting. And sensitive people are very good about digging deep into a topic, digging deep into a skill, and becoming very, very good at it because we are deeply conscientious people. So we do tend to want to do things very, very well. So that's what I love. Some of the questions you had about the performing arts, how does empathy how does creating empathy help us lean towards other perspectives? And why do we need that in the world today? And we need it for the same reason we've always needed it, because we need to understand each other. And the performing arts are a way we can do that, whether it's the theater or public sculpture or painting exhibit or photography or filmmaking like Will does. It's an incredible way of connecting people. And great art has always been about showing people something in a new way, right?
Right.
So you're looking at an everyday thing like the vases behind you that Van Gogh did. It's seeing an everyday object, some rough sunflowers he threw into an old vase. He's showing you it in a completely different way. And that was what was revolutionary about Van Gogh, was his perspective was different. The way he showed you everyday things. Andy Warhol, Jackson Pollock, you can go on throughout art history. It's the same thing. These are sensitive people that were showing you the world through different eyes. Mm-hmm. This is what sensitive men do. We have different eyes.
That's right. That's right. And one thing Tracy and I talked about, that's something that's really close to me, is when psychologists or clinical psychologists sometimes will have kids draw. They'll just draw on a piece of paper before they even start talking. They'll just tell the kid, sit over there and draw something while I do this. And then, man, that stuff that comes out on that piece of paper is really where they're at that time. And it might be monsters, or it might be one that says happy family. That is something we're going to do in the film, is have people do little pieces on themselves. And some of them will work, some of them won't work, but nonetheless, we're going to have them take the iPhone out or do something. Just go for it. Do something creative. If it's sing a song, go sing your song. Write the lyrics. Put the camera on you and jump around. Dance. Show it or draw on a piece of paper. I want to see those little things that are deeper than what we imagine. All art pieces. Yeah, it's a real conduit. It's a window to the soul. So I think it's a real necessary and wonderful, wonderful connection, the art, the creative. And like we keep saying, that the creative, it's not, Tracy keeps straightening me out on this one, because I say non-sensitive, but we're all got some sensitivity in us, period. It's across the board. That's what makes this whole thing relatable. That's highly and the less highly. It's okay. That's a good thing. So we can blend and balance, and we'll bring it out
through the art. So that's something that will be in the film.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we had a artist paint out, I don't know if you saw it, Walt's portrait. It's a 8 foot by 8 foot portrait of my son, and it's truly unbelievable.
Oh, I want to see that.
I'll always a musician and a poet and he always said he wanted to be an actor. That would be the best job. That, or then he said have his guitar slung across his back and be a park ranger.
This is what we love, Susan, about Luke Goss joining our team, is that he is a performer, right? And he has an Instagram channel, and you can see him literally sitting with his guitar, strumming it while he tells you the deepest thoughts of his heart.
Yeah.
Almost on a daily basis. He's absolutely an incredible individual. That's also a well-known painter today. I mean, he's dug into painting during the pandemic, and it's become pretty well known for it. And so he does these exquisite paintings that really use something like active imagination, where he's meditating and allowing his intuition to suggest what it is his paintings are going to become or his drawings are going to become. So we have this incredible example of someone who's not only sort of really successful in a worldly sense, but personally successful in a real spiritual sense, because he is a spiritual seeker. You really get that from here, and so from him. So him featuring in the film is really a tremendous asset, and we have other people along the way too that are well-known people that are going to be in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that touching on the spirituality is important as well. Yeah, I mean, I remember we would go to some kirtans and things as well, which would just be very interesting and beautiful. And they actually did a service for him at one. Just the music and the beauty and feeling each other's spirits. You know, it's something to behold, and I think we've lost so much of that, not just with the pandemic, but just with you know, everything, the internet, the everything, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes we forget that we need to be touched, you know, we are human beings, you know, that's why we have hair, right? Evolution, you know, it's all part of, of such importance that I feel like the lack of community is really is so much hurting us. And so I think that even mental wellness and things like that, you know, we can become healthier that way, and even just expressing ourselves through the arts. I mean, I love to paint and do all sorts of things. I always say it's the process, not the product. You know, because some people don't want to just let go and, you know, do whatever because they look at their end piece and say, you know, and I'm like, no, it's the process, you know, that's what makes it, right? That's what heals the soul, you know. I mean, you know, maybe what comes out is, you know, whatever. I mean, all my art that I have in this house is mine, so I'm like, oh well, you know, because I feel like it's you know, it's just an expression of how you know, how I'm feeling, or you know, what I wanted to put out there. And I think that people oftentimes don't allow themselves to do things because of a perfectionism or things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No,
No
absolutely.
fear.
Yeah,
No fear.
no fear, right? So building community is a big part of the film as well. I mean, you know, opening that door to hearing men's stories from around the world, that creates a sense of community that will live in perpetuity, you know, long beyond us.
I am so excited. I mean, seriously, I am. I mean, I just feel like if Walt could have sat around and listened to some of these people and heard their stories, it would just be, I mean, I knew my son so well. We taught together for 10 years, and we, you know, we did all these outdoor activities together, my boys, and we always did. And I just think that having him know that there were all these other people out there that were like these beautiful human beings. Even at our work, people would say, I wish I knew that he had this, because I'm this way, you know. And but it's that isolation. So
So that,
awesome.
that
I'm
keys
so
in,
glad you guys are doing it.
that keys into one of the questions that you sent about, you know, sometimes the arts is seen as a feminine thing, whereas wives drags their husbands to see opera or to see art performances or shows. And I think that's interesting, because if you are a sensitive person, maybe you do have a better aesthetic. If your aesthetic is more well developed, that is something you could share with someone that is perhaps less sensitive. If it happens to be a husband or happens to be a wife, and it works both ways. But you're able to expose them to a world they wouldn't think about otherwise. And you can show them why it matters to look at paintings, why it matters to go to a live performance, you know, why these things matter and why you should develop your aesthetic.
It's equal to the downtime. You need that time to the aesthetic development time. You need equal, and I think part of this film is going to be giving tools. Like they say, Tom Falkenstein is, you know, he's the master of the toolkit for helping highly sensitive men. And that's what we're going to do. Tracy's very good at that as well, is giving tools for us to be able to share more and to do more with it. Because at the end of the story, we don't want to just make you aware of it. We want to give you something that you can do with it that's greater than yourself, to give to others, to help share it and keep it alive and unselfish thinking, you know.
Yeah,
so we're
not
really,
a one and done, right? You know, you need, and with the strategies, that's the only way to go. You know, I've been a teacher my whole life, and if you don't give them strategies and tools to use, it's like, you know, if they remember it, yeah, okay, it touched their heart, but it's like, give them the tools, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'll teach them to fish, right?
All you need is love.
One of our first conversations, Susan, with Will and I was talking about, you know, kind of the tone of the film, which is always going to be about the function of the trait, the function of high sensitivity, and communicating that through these individual narratives, right? So allowing those narratives to communicate, I'm a highly sensitive person, and this is what I do with it, this is what I've been able to do with it, and seeing it from a real strengths perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's powerful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So exercise your body, exercise your mind.
Absolutely.
Right? And we can do it with all these different creative tools. So we'll be passing things around that I think are going to be very, I like the word you guys used in the beginning, connecting.
Awesome.
Wait.
Well.
Wow. My wife just brought me breakfast, so that's.
Oh, that's right. Good morning and good night.
And it looks so good.
Oh, well, we'll let you go. I don't want it to get
No,
cold.
it's okay. It's okay. No, this is great, and I'm really glad that I met you, Susan, and that you talk. When we do the piece about you and your son, you know, make sure you get a lot of photos of him, so that we can really show him, and you can be the voice of, and I know Tracy knows him, so that, and if you find a couple other people that were really close to him, that would be good. So we can do basically a segment around, you know, because the idea here is we don't want to, we're doing this within a 2-hour period, hour and a half to 2 hours. And we don't want to repeat a lot of the same stories, but we'll do enough to where people can see that you're not the only one in your shoes. But we want to try to do different so we can show, like they say that sometimes one person's story represents 1,000. And we can show that how many of us are out there doing in different situations that are not healthy or that are super healthy, and here's examples so that everybody can go, oh man, I can relate to that. That's me, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful. Different faces, different people, different stories, and everyone will find a place. And
everyone will find a place.
That's what's so important. Absolutely, I love that.
And then we'll still have the manual, the book that Tracy will create, that you can go deeper. You can dig deeper into it, or you can reach out. You know, we want to also make it so that there's places, resources people can go to.
I know it's going to save lives. That's how I feel. I know it.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, last words. So the last words are that the performing arts are hugely important, as they have always been, and sensitive men have always been a part of that world, even if we haven't really understood or acknowledged it. And that we sensitive men really, we can embody the arts and appreciate the arts no matter what. Culture tells us that we're supposed to, what we're supposed to believe or what we're supposed to enjoy. We have our own minds, and we can choose to believe whatever we want. We can enjoy performances, we can enjoy the entire panorama of the arts on our own, and have a good time with it. And everybody else should as well.
And Susan, keep doing what you're doing. You got a great mantra, and your son is great. His spirit lives on with me and with Tracy, and we're proud of folks like him and you for sharing him with us still. So please, we'll keep singing his song.
Thank you. I'm thrilled that you guys took the time for us, and we're gonna keep it going, because that's what, we're all gonna keep it going, right?
Right.
Helping everybody and moving forward. Yeah. So I appreciate you so much, and Waltz, thanks you so much, and I hope you have a very good morning and a good breakfast to do.
Yeah, look, I'll show you this green shake. Man, some cucumber, something. Healthy food. You got to eat healthy food. Stay healthy, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But thank you so much. Anything we can do to help you, you pick up the airwaves or just put the mantra out there and we'll be there.
All right, I'll start oming and you'll know it, right?
Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And y'all have a good night.
You too, Susan.
Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Tracy.
Bye, Will.
See ya, Tracy. See you guys.
Hi, I'm Greg Johnson, composer and a highly sensitive black man. In my studies of Dr. Aaron's work, I've come to rely on the acronym DOES, D-O-E-S. The D is for deep thinker, and the O is for overwhelmed, because sometimes the world is too much. And then E is for empathy. And the S is for being sensitive to subtleties. So that does it. DOES. And that makes all the difference in the world. Enjoy.